you know how I feel. Ooh.
no. Okay. All right. Well, that sucks, Jackie. Sorry. I'll be honest. You do not need to adjust your TVs. I look really red because I am really red. I went to the beach and hey, we can leave that part out. But basically, yeah, I was stupid. Anyway, so I got a little red. But I had a good vacation, and I was sorry to miss you guys on Thursday, but that's what happened. And it was really nice. And then I had a great jam yesterday. I really appreciate those of you that were here. It was actually I couldn't tell by the number of comments, but it was actually decently watched and participated with. Uh, Sweet. Laundry will wait. Okay, good. Um, Also, okay, so anyway, we had a great jam and it was a lot of fun. And the jams for me, let me make sure my mic is loud enough. Okay, that's probably a little bit better. The jams for me have always been a chance to kind of experiment, to play around, to try some different things out. And then over the last month, it's been to hang out with Vivian and Ann together. Of course, Tara's here because she lives here. And oops, that's the wrong backdrop. Oops. Yeah, that's last week's backdrop. So just let's show the video. That's gonna drive me crazy. Well, yeah. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So jams. So anyway, here's my big news. I have decided to go back to school. I've decided to go back and get a type of certification, and I don't really want to get into what the program is and things like that, just in case it doesn't catch. I don't want to, I feel committed to it, but I just want to make sure that it's my thing before I announce to the world what I'm doing. And so that I'm actually starting a summer session to get going in this. And so I will need probably more time than I can give the jams. Believe it or not, the jams I actually spend so much more time getting ready for than the classes. I spend a lot of time on all of it, but the jams, believe it or not, with the green screen and everything, it's a big setup. And so I'm going to tone those back. Also, I'm sure summer's about to kick in. Hopefully, the world's opening back up if everybody behaves, and you might be out of town too. So what we're going to do is next week will be the last official weekly jam, and then from there on, I will just do sporadic jams here and there. Maybe we'll fall into a rhythm, but I just kind of need to see what my school thing is like. And so we'll be doing sporadic jams from then. I will miss you guys. Most of you, though, that attend the jams also attend the classes. But so next week will be, and we'll put the Zoom wall up since it's the last one it could be the last one. Probably be the last one for like a month, like 3 weeks maybe. But I'm just the jams. I just want to make sure we're clear on this. It's just the jams that we're talking about. The Monday and Thursday class, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep this going as long as the donations come in, as long as there's interest. This is fun for me. I've got a way to do it that isn't as taxing on me. So, tonight I want to just sort of jump straight in. Let me make sure I've got my music situation happening here. So what I'm doing tonight is we are going to do a tech class. Now, if you've had a technique class with me before, you know how this goes. Some people don't like them, some do, but it's just a chance to, either polish stuff you already know, build on stuff, or learn stuff. And so tonight we're going to talk about touch techniques. And touch techniques are something that, like, not that you ever would, but on my YouTube channel, if you were to go way, way back, I actually did a touch techniques video, and this tells you how old school hooping was. It was a big deal, but it was like balance and point technique, and so those sort of things. So tonight we're going to be working on touch technique. Now I'll tell you that tonight's class started as an anti-anxiety class, which I think we're going to do Thursday. But the reason it morphed into this is I wanted to do a technique because that's about where we're at in the rotation. But I also was just in my own practice realizing just how relaxing and calming touch techniques can be. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. So what I was saying about the music is that it's a little bit less important on a tech class. Okay, so, all right, we're not doing too bad on time. Again, 7:05 is about when I want to start, so, okay. This is kind of a go-to sway song for me. I just really like this one. It's a little bit more upbeat. There we go. It's a little bit more upbeat, and then we're going to jump into technique, and we're just going to kind of flow from one touch technique to another. Okay, so here we go. I made a strategic change with the cameras. And let's see. I made a change with the cameras, and so we're not going to be switching scenes quite as much as we normally do, but all the gadgets will be back soon. Okay. A little bit more. All right, I love the start of this, so let's go ahead and start over a little bit. Sorry for the repeat background, that's my bad. Audible breath in. Audible breath in. Audible breath in. If you're just joining me for the first time, sway is a free-form technique. Audible breath in. Tonight we're going to be working on touch technique. And touch technique is a category of hoop techniques that are meant to heighten your sense of touch. To make your sense of touch better than the way you were born. To build on it, to improve on it. And closing your eyes or going blindfolded, just as it opens your ears, it can open your sense of touch. Our principal sensors of touch are obviously going to be the hands tonight. So I can open the hands and close the hands and activate the hands. I can thin the hands out. I can roll the hands. But all the different movement that moves through each hand opens it, awakens it. Open, open. I invite you to trace one hand along some other part, the other arm or the other hand, to make contact with one of your hands to some part of you. And to focus in on feeling that contact. Like I can feel the back of my hand running across the cotton of this shirt. Audible breath in. Happy Monday to everybody, by the way, if I haven't said that already. I hope I have. Okay, so things are going to be a little bit weird because I switched up one of the cameras so I can give you guys a close-up cam, but it's gonna cycle into the slideshow, so just or scene switch, so just forgive me on that one. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move into our first exercise. Even before you pick up the hoop, there's one thing I sort of want you to feel first, and that you could think of this like a tuning exercise, right? And what I want you to do, and that don't have to stay this way, but I want you to bring your hands close enough together, and then I want you to imagine or believe or pretend or whatever that you have an energy field that goes beyond your skin. And that as you move your hands, you can feel the energy of one hand pushing or rubbing up, at least making contact with the energy of the other hand. And of course, it's a movement meditation type exercise, but if you're not feeling it, sometimes you can bring your hands together and blow into them. This is a reach, but the idea for the next moment or two is for us to, as dancers, to feel the connection of that energy from one hand to the other hand. this is, a dance exercise, but if I can imagine that I can sort of spread an energy, like, if there's an energy that's coming out of my hands that each hand can feel, that I can kind of like lather that on me, that I can smooth that onto me, that I could like turn my healing energy in on myself by just. So what I want you to imagine, or invite you to imagine, is just skimming the surface with this flying hand, like as I sort of skim the surface over me. And your footwork is, of course, your own. I like to add big feet and movements. Okay. All right. So I do have a playlist of various songs that I like, but again, the music is going to sort of just keep going in the background tonight while we play around. All right. Let's see if we... Okay. The first of the touch techniques that we're going to start with tonight is called point technique. And since almost everybody that's watching has had my classes before, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about what point technique is. But the idea of point technique, music. Is that we are not gripping the hoop, and we're letting the hoop hang, stand, or fly, and it can do all those things. But we're bowing in to having less control, meaning that I'm not trying to cheat at all. I'm trying to move the hoop without grip or without control. Okay. Now, for some of you, you might have had the class called Kaya Dreams of Snakes. I taught a class called Kaya Dreams of Snakes, and her hands in a dream become snakes. And one way that you can really sort of increase the fun of your sway is to think of each hand as either snakes or birds, or going back to that energy connection you were feeling before. But instead of thinking about what the hoop is doing, I invite you to think about what your hands are doing or how they're moving. Or what is the overall dance? What's the macro look of what you're doing? That's right, sock snakes. The sock class. Still one of my favorites. Good. When I used to go out on the road, I would notice that even the best students would start gripping the hoop. And I would be like, why are you gripping the hoop? You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. And I realized that we've been gripping things since before we could talk, right? And so one of the reasons that we do point on the back of the hands, and we make such a point of it being on the back of the hands, is so that we can't grip it, right? Like, so we don't have to fight temptation at all. We're not even walking into that bar, right? We're here. And a point can be anywhere on your body. It can be on an arm, it can be on one finger. Oops. Yeah, so Tara just asked, she does have a mic, but she just asked if it can be on your palm. Of course it can be on your palm, like nobody's going to expel you anyway, but it can be on your palm. But what we do is we call this point palm, and it's when your hands are sort of arched away from the hoop. So I'm here. They're kind of arched away. It's just it's purely, there's my close-up cam, so this is what we're working on, y'all. That's point position there in the bottom right corner. that's the new feature we're working on. Okay. So I've got some cool stuff that I want to go ahead and put in. Okay. So we're going to stay with this point technique for one more exercise. And what we're going to do, okay, well, I know you guys like the myth. In the myth of the Maidan, a Maidan's hoop was a tree that had been come up through the ground before she's born. And the little tree and the way it grows and where it grows and how fast it grows, it helps the Maidan know where that baby has just been born. And then when that baby Maidan gets to a certain age, she pulls the tree out of the ground and she shakes off all the dirt from the roots and she strips the leaves away. And she spins with that sort of tree stick until she spins it so fast that the roots and the leaves and the branches reach out for each other. They intertwine and they make a circle. And so in Maidan lore, there's an energy connection between their hoop and themselves because they consider that to be the same spirit, right? Same energy. And so what I invite you to do right now is to, if you can bow into that creative metaphor, to imagine that your other hand or your other arm or whatever it is connecting to that energy. Instead of manipulating the prop, you're singing with it. A completely improv and unknown song. And then more technically, you can take some time to trace the hoop with your hand. You can feel how if I take a trace, if I trace in point, if I put any kind of push, the hoop's going to start to move. I can create folds by tracing down and bringing them to me. And now we can start to bring the hoop and create other points of contact that were maybe not the hands. For instance, I can hang the hoop and maybe raise a knee just for demonstration and pull my hand across, and that'll create a pivot there, right? Of course, these are all super obvious. And this concept in point is called pivot and push. And the pivot enables the push, and the push enables the pivot. Remember, I'm trying not to grip, I'm trying not to create any sort of hooks around the hoop, because if it falls, that helps me, that informs me. That's like where I can't go yet. I know a lot of you that are watching are black belts in point technique. And so one area that's really fun to work, if you haven't already, is to work holding the hoop on the forearm and creating point control when the hoop is right there in the middle of your arm. Because you'll be surprised at how that can change your shoulder. And the reason we developed this is because we could start to knock and tip the hoop and pivot, and we'll work on that later. I'm doing sort of low-grade folding right now, only in point technique. Another fun place to bring point up to, so instead of just the forearm, I can bring it all the way up, inside or outside of the hoop, all the way up to like an upper shoulder here, right? And when it's all the way up here, then I can start to try and like walk the hoop around. See this? I'm walking the hoop around me. Now again, not every technique I do and love, you're gonna love. But if you want to give it the college try, then move the other hands. Just like Tara's doing right now, move the other hands. Okay. Okay. Usually when there's no comments, that's either a good sign or a really bad sign. So hopefully you guys are just doing it with me. I think you are. Okay. So for this next exercise, we're going to kind of cheat a little bit if we have to. But we're actually going to include samurai into the touch techniques. But the reason is because the concept is more important than the actual technique right now. I used to say that samurai was not a touch technique. Khan and I went back and forth because he wrote a lot of HoopPath, and so maybe it is. But here's what I want you to play with today. I want you to play with contact smearing. Because in addition to touch hooping, it generally across the hoop community is called contact hooping. And of course, the hoop's always in contact with you, but what makes contact hooping is that you are playing with that sense of touch, right? That sense of touch, you're not so much thinking, at first anyway, about what it looks like. And so like right now, if you could see inside of my brain, what I'm trying to do is like just in a dark room is just visualize one single light that is the hoop touching my body. Not my hand so much. And essentially we could call this contact tracing. Because we're making contact, outside wall of the hoop or this side wall or whatever. Oh yeah, I just realized. That's funny. Clearly, we live in pandemic times. Tracing and contact, let's put it that way. This exercise is probably a little bit easier for those of you that, more naturally gravitate to creative dance. well, I guess back that up. Freeform dance. I'm sorry. There are loads of beautiful dancers that are amazing dancers that are less comfortable with freeform than choreography. Now, what I'm doing right now is I am using my hoop to make contact on my core. And doing that kind of informs the pace of my hooping, but it doesn't have to. Like, I'm moving kind of at a slower pace. As I mentioned, we're doing this in samurai because I want you to get the concept. I want you to teach your body that it's okay to feel the outside wall in some place. I could be doing this in point technique for the most part. It just requires just a little bit more hand speed. The other thing you could do, and Tara's kind of, watching Tara just sort of inspired me to say this, but Tara's kind of doing sort of an open samurai, and that's when you allow the hoop like water to sort of run through your fingers. You don't have to twirl or anything, but I don't know if you can see if I've got the camera on her, but her hands they're not rigidly gripping. In fact, they're hardly even circling around the hoop. I love that track. That might be my new fave. I like it. Okay. Excuse me, let me get some water. Okay, so believe it or not, these things kind of combine. When we take hands and we take contact, we can get folds. And that's what we're going to work on for our next little 2-minute interlude here. And we're going to go back to our sort of kaya and snakes thing, or whatever. But what you're going to do is, actually, let's stay with samurai just for a second. I want to make sure you get the point I'm making here. This is me using a hand or a point to create a fold. You see how I'm just gripping the hoop here, right? And I'm using my hand or whatever to create a fold. And of course I can, roll the hands around, and one can be in kind of a tight samurai and one can be in point or whatever. And the whatever would just be determined by like what I want to do next, right? And so if my hands, if I'm in this sort of contact mode where the hoop doesn't have to be spinning around me, but I like it making contact, then I can fly my hands out and do cool things while I make that contact happen. And more times than not, the movement of the hoop will be folding. And it might sound crazy, but I've had some people back in the day when I was introducing folding that in workshops that could not get it until they free-flowed with it. They thought about the contact that they were making. They thought about alternate ways to hold the hoop. And then last week, I think it was last week or the week before, 2 weeks ago, we talked about push folds. That's a type of touch technique as well. And that's when I create like a hug or a push, when my leg pushes out. this is a touch technique. We're doing contact folding, and it's a touch technique because I'm not using any grip. I mean, you could be using grip right now, that's allowed, but you get what I mean. But essentially what I mean to say is that most of the movement that's being created is by, one arm coming in and another arm pushing out. And we've done this move countless times, but this is a classic example of a contact fold, right? Classic example. You can see my shoulders are here, they're out over the hoop, my hands are out here, and I come up, boom, right? That's a classic example. We're gonna go just another 30 seconds or so, let you see if you can play with this. As I was saying before, I hope I finished this thought. I can hold the hoop up here high on my shoulders. And what's so great about folding is it's so good for your arms because it brings your elbows so much higher and further out than they normally ever would go, right? Okay. Okay. All right, so the next song. Yeah, okay, cool. So for this next song, or next exercise, we're going to talk a little bit about flying the hoop. And I know this is a little bit hard for people in limited spaces, but flying the hoop is kind of like my man behind me here. Flying the hoop is a point technique. It's one of the sort of three ways of point, right? It's hanging, standing, and flying. There might be some other one that hasn't been discovered, but y'all can discover that for me. And flying is when I put, whether it's sustained or not, it doesn't matter. This is me flying the hoop, but not sustaining it. And I'm going to show you one of my favorite, maybe we just got too much light on you, doll. This is one of my favorite drills for this, and then I'll press play on the music. But one of the things, this is super nerdy, but it can be fun to develop a way to bring the hoop down from flying into point, and then to be able to push it back into flight, right? And then bring it back down into point. You see, I'm not stopping, I'm not gripping it to sort of bring it down. Boom. And so there's an exercise that you can work on to work on this technique. It's kind of fun. I'm holding the hoop in my right hand behind me, left hand's in front here. See, better here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to swing the hoop up, and so this is going to help me develop the skill of getting it into flight, pinky to pinky, and then I'm going to bring the hoop and put it right back to sleep. So it looks like this, right? It's so simple that we use it for a warm-up drill, but if you haven't done it, it might be a little tricky, but I bring the hoop up, turn palms towards me, pinky to pinky, and then what I'm trying to do is to put the hoop to sleep instead of banging it into me. And then if I'm really feeling it, once I start to do this for a while, I might try to make my flights really fast and then put the hoop to sleep as fast as I can and then bring it back up. All right, I hope that made sense. You're going from flying to hanging, but keeping it in point. But of course, mostly what we're working on right now is flying. So don't worry about that exercise if it didn't strike you. This is flying. This is flying outside the hoop. This is flying inside the hoop. And it doesn't, if you get dizzy, don't worry about it, right? You don't really have to spin to do this. You're just, and when you're really on, it'll feel like that you're letting go of a bird or something. The hoop will just jump out of your hand.
I won't tell you from a life I want to pay your love to. I stomped on the floodlights and if every high comes down, don't wanna be flying you now. I won't tell you from the ride, I want to see your eyelids sing. I stomped on my own silence. If every high comes down, I'm kind of afraid of you now.
course, toss the hoop in point. Oh, well, normally you can toss the hoop in point, like if I want to do a behind the back toss.
I won't tell you, respect the tide, it seems to be the right move. So stomp on the floodlights, and if every high comes down, I'm kind of afraid of you now.
Nice. One thing I think I've told you guys before, but just an easy trick. If I'm spinning and I'm outside the hoop, if the hoop is spinning this way, all I have to do is break hands and turn my palm towards me, and the hoop I'll be inside of the hoop. So I'm here and I'm spinning with my palms out. All I have to do is just break hands and turn the palms in. Now I'm inside of it in a nice 2-point. And then just, I hope you're flowing and finding your own sort of magic with this, but let me just for the record, I'll show you this drill just one more time. This circuit, oops. So this is it, just one more time if you want to. And then this would be if I wanted to do it on the same hand, right? And you get a good twist with that. I forgot about that. So if I'm doing it on the same hand, it's going to spin across, and then I'm going to bring it back down, twist. Okay, we've already heard this one, but this one was what I was having to get to. Okay, so let's see where we're doing on time. Okay, cool. All right, we're getting a little bit late on time now, but now what we're going to work on is with our contact or, touch hooping is going to be body rolls. We're going to try to lean that into some balance, right? So if you know how to do body rolls, that's what we're doing right now. That is what we call standing point technique, right? The hoop is standing, right? And there's a couple, the sort of, it's not the easiest, but the simplest way that I teach a body roll, if you just want to experience what the feeling is you hold the hoop in one hand. I'm holding it in my left hand. I'm going to spin the hoop towards my right hand, right? So my right hand is out here. And then what I'm going to do, it's like I'm putting on a coat that somebody is holding for me. And I'm going to push my right arm. I'm going to turn, like if somebody brings a coat to you, you turn, you put one arm in and then the other arm. That's kind of what we're going to do here. So I'm spinning the hoop in my left hand. It's going to my right. Okay? And what I'm going to do, I'll do this backwards so you can see here. But I'm going to slip my arm into that coat. Oops. Believe it or not, it worked in practice. I'm going to put my arm into that coat. And then the hoop is just going to roll across. Yeah, be careful, Jackie. We need you. Okay, so this is a concept of body rolls. And do you see how if I come up as the hoop is rolling, I can connect it, right? So if I'm here, I push my hand up. This is chest roll. And we're doing this because this would be like, a standing/rolling point touch technique. Bring the music up a little bit. One of the ways that balance developed for me, we're just going to stick with body rolls, but one of the ways that it developed for me was when the hoop would go, would get still. But you can try different kind of cool body rolls that are a little bit easier. Like I'm just going to bring the hoop to my shoulder. It's not a super amazing move, but it'll help me learn some touch with it, right? see what I did there? I'm just gonna bring the hoop, I'm just gonna let it sit on my shoulder, right? And I give my body, I don't know how to do it, but my body does. Give my body a chance to figure that out, right? And maybe it sits there and I do something cool with it, or maybe it keeps flowing, right? If I'm just rolling it towards me, I'm just gonna roll it, let it roll onto my core. The lights are in the way. I'm not the master at body rolls, but I can tell you a few tricks. One trick is to really pay attention to that point of contact and to keep moving through it. Sometimes what happens, the reason that the hoop loses momentum is you freeze for a second. And so when it's like if I'm going to try to do that putting the coat on thing again, I don't want to just do this and just let it sit there, right? I want to continue the action despite the contact, right? So to make this body roll work, once I feel contact, I'm going to raise up, so it's got a hill to roll down, right? So I'm here. I'm not just going to like put it there, right? I'm going to move nice, Tara. I'm going to move all the way through it. Continuous action. Boom. Nice, Jennifer. Oops. Sometimes it can also help to think of yourself more airplane-like. Like a lot of people, when they do a chest roll, they they spread out. I'm really thinking about that. But if I am an airplane, unlike a bird, I got fixed wings most likely, right? And so when I'm trying like any kind of roll, right, I can dip this shoulder down as well as come up, right? And sometimes your body, that's the math your body's missing. Fade on the music. All right, so because this is a tech class, we are going to have some free hoop songs for those that can stick around. We're going to do that. But I want to talk about the last touch technique, and this one's been obvious, is balance. And we're just going to spend about a song on it. We're not going to get too crazy here. Actually, I just realized I don't really have the perfect song for that. No, that's not it. Oh, all right, maybe I should just trust my instincts here. Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, this will be good. Okay, so for balance, not to teach a balance class, hopefully your hands are nice and jazzed up and sway and all of that sort of stuff that's got you working here. But a couple of key points, actually, I want to do a couple key things that might be a little bit less complicated or less confusing when the music starts. One thing about balance is that it's active, and I know that's obvious, but it's active. And what happens with people, usually the reason that the hoop starts to fall is their arm is getting tired, and then their brain is getting tired. And so when you're thinking on a balance, you might want to think, I need to push up. I need to push up. Like give your brain an activity, because you're never going to be so good at balance that there's not some kind of movement happening there, right? And so that's one thing. The other thing, we'll start with this kind of more forward balance. The other thing is to use your eyesight, to use the gaze out of your eyes to hold the hoop wherever you want to hold it, right? And so some people in the flow community focus on the closest part. That makes my eyes go cross. I hate it, or I don't hate it, but I dislike it strongly. So I hop across to the other side. And so while I'm looking all the way over there, a lot of people always look at the North Star. That would be totally fine. The one place that I don't think it helps to look at, I'm sure people can prove me wrong, but is to look at your hands. In fact, almost every time someone takes a glance at their hands, the hoop falls, right? And so the best thing, one of the things about balance is to trust that you don't need to look at your hands, right? That if you're looking at the hoop, it's going to do a lot more good for you, right? And I've been balancing forever. I think I'm pretty good at it. But the moment that I close my eyes, the hoop falls, right? That's how important eyesight is, right? Okay. Let's try some balance. I'm going to show you some different balances just so we can practice all of these together. This will be our last exercise just to do some balance. There's this one move that there's this one move we've done before where we're in 2-point and we push back into this balance. Okay? That can be really helpful. When you're in a balance with 2 points, you want those points working together, right? So my front hand is kind of like angled and angled, like so I'm holding the hoop there. And for me, I always found this like the easiest, I mean, nothing's easy, but the easier of the ways, but some people feel like this is a lot harder than just going with one. And if you want to do one, I recommend holding the hoop at first, sort of like cradling it in the kind of, there we go, sort of cradling it in your fingers there. Not applying pressure, not outside the walls at all, but the hoop's just sort of sitting in the groove of your fingers. And then one thing I love about yoga teachers is they always bring up a focus for a body part that you're not even sure is involved in something. In this way, think about the bottoms of your feet, because that is the base. The steadiness starts at the feet. And I've had a lot of hoopers sort of have their, it's a slow breakthrough, but have breakthroughs on balance by just thinking about their feet. And then again, the hoop's gonna wobble every time my arm gets tired, so it helps to kind of like, I gotta push it, I'm lifting it. It's not standing here, I'm lifting it. And then there's also the 2-point balance when the hoop is in the sun plane. Nice, T. Tara's showing off with some balance over there. Then this is, you don't have to do that. You can keep doing whatever you're doing, but I'll just show you guys the one more. This is the outside. Now here's the cool thing with this one, and you can do it with the other ones, but I don't know if you notice, I'm not looking at the hoop really, I'm looking at the monitor right now. And I can do that because I'm looking through the hoop, and my peripheral vision or my cones or whatever is happening there, I'm still seeing the hoop, and that's enough for my brain. Like, I don't really have to, I can almost read comments. Okay, this is officially the worst. I like this song, but this is not a good song for balance, but whatever. And then since we do have some black belts here in your arms, if your arms aren't gassed already, this 2-point balance that I'm doing here, this opens up, I mean, you can do it other ways, but this opens up a balance fold, right? Where I am moving the hoop, I'm folding it. Oops, I'm not doing too good right now. There we go. And what's happening is the hands, as you can see here, they're rolling. One's going inside and one's going, actually, yeah. each hand is spinning. That's what I should say. This is a 2-point balance fold. Okay, if you made it through that whole thing, good for you. That was a lot to take in, and I really appreciate it. We're going to free hoop now and give you guys a chance to ask questions if you have any. Oops, I don't want that one. Okay. Oops, I didn't do the songs. Okay, this whole thing is on SoundCloud. I'll fix this. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. I think I want something a little bit grimier right now. Happy Monday, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully we're still on air. Right. I love spoken word. Questions for me, you can fire away. If you're watching this on replay, you can still ask a question. I'll try to get to it in the comments. Oh, sweet. Sweet, Namaflo. Thank you. Okay, sweet. Okay, we'll do one more song-ish. Yeah, we'll do one more song and then call it a night. Thank you guys so much for joining me.
Do you feel shame? Do you feel shame? Do you feel shame? Do you feel shame? Do you feel shame?
And I will go ahead and make this public for you guys. So here's the song. I just sent through the comments there. Hopefully it'll show up in a second there. That's the link to the playlist. And there's a lot of songs on that we didn't play, but I just sort of threw everything into one basket.
Do you feel shame? Do you feel shame? Do you feel shame?
If anybody's still here, but one fun thing you can do once you start to get some balance is roll your hand down into the balance. So I'll show you what I mean. So as I'm rolling the hoop, I can make contact here and roll my hand underneath. It's super geeky, but you can do it. So I'm rolling, make contact there, and see how I roll my hand, goes up under it, and puts the hoop to sleep. Boom. Essentially, it's like hand walking out of midair. Anyway, I'll stop talking.
Do you feel shame? Do you feel shame? Do you feel shame?
You know, that's what they say about Gail. I mean, we joke Namaflo, but people have asked me if I had magnets because they think my hoop is metal. Okay, so yeah, maybe this is. Yeah, we'll just sort of chill out and make this our last song-ish. And but I just want to say thank you to everybody. I appreciate your support, and thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you, Tara. Wave goodbye to the folks. But thank you guys so much for everything. We super appreciate it.